Hello, welcome to another World of UX podcast. I am your host, Darren Hood. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. Special welcome to those of you joining us for the first time. We're going back to the well again, more talk circuit stuff. This time in particular, we're going to continue. I played an excerpt in last week's episode from the Beyond the Interface podcast. And when I went back and reviewed it, there was just a lot of great coverage of a lot of topics that are near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. A lot of people were asking questions about it. And it was such a great interview. It was so energetic. It was so enlightening. I thought, you know what? Let's just go back. We're going to excerpt another 30 minutes or so out of that interview. If you haven't already, go to the Beyond the Interface podcast. You can find it pretty much anywhere podcasts are available. You can listen to the entire set within its context. But we're going to take 30 minutes out just to focus on some key topics, especially of interest to people who are new to UX today. So enjoy it. We hope you get a lot out of this. I think those of you that are new, you're going to be in for a treat. But let's go ahead without further ado and let's dive in. And as always, we will see you at the end. All right.
What more could we be doing to bring more people on side, right? Because I kind of feel like, and I think you mentioned it earlier, is that you'll like stress a point of view, right? And say people in these senior leadership positions aren't qualified, right? Or the seniors are not seniors. And I've seen the comments and you know, people like, you're a hater, you're a gatekeeper. How do we stop people from getting offended and actually to a point of understanding and realization?
It ties back to EQ. Am I a hater? Yeah, I hate foolishness. And the truth is, so does everybody else. They have yet to identify that thing is foolish. Am I a gatekeeper? Yeah. Because I'm an advocate for quality. That's what gatekeeping is. People who complain about gatekeeping have no idea what gatekeeping is. And then they go to the ATM and they withdraw money. And if it wasn't for the gatekeeper, you couldn't do that. If it wasn't for the gatekeeper, you'd have been dead a long time ago because the traffic lights would be gone. If there was no gatekeeping, you wouldn't have any electricity in your household. But because somebody decided to establish some standards and made everybody account to the same electrical standards, we're able to have flowing electricity and governed in a proper way. We are where we are because of gatekeeping. Gatekeeping is not, I don't know anybody in the world that ever tried to keep anybody out of UX. That is a fear-mongering tactic. That is just trying to get people to try to preserve their anarchical perspective. So I am a gatekeeper, but I advocate for quality. And I'm not going to apologize for that. And people realize when we respect another way that we get back to where we are going the right way, we start respecting gatekeeping. But on average, you actually don't respect gatekeeping, because if you respect gatekeeping, then you got to be accountable to a standard, and people don't want to be. Wait a minute, you mean I have to be truly qualified? Novel idea, huh? You know, and tell the same people that complain about gatekeeping, just let anybody work on your teeth. Since you don't like gatekeeping. That person had to pass a gatekeeping exam to legally work on your teeth. If you don't believe in gatekeeping, let a witch doctor remove your tonsils. Complaining about gatekeeping is hypocritical. Because one minute they want somebody qualified and the next minute they don't. Or they say that because we're trying to say you need to be qualified, that's gatekeeping, even though that's gatekeeping that we do want. And until we respect it, the discipline will continue to spiral.
Yeah, I tend to agree, because, you know, you mentioned about boot camps earlier as well. It just made me think during this conversation that to be an engineer right? And to be a staff engineer or engineering leader, you have to earn your stripes, right? To be a senior PM, to be a VP of product, you have to earn your stripes. But then for some reason in user experience, you can just go on one boot camp for 12 weeks, pay $10,000, and you've got your accreditation and you're on the market, right? And you've got some conceptual projects on your portfolio that might look good, and companies say, yeah, I want to look good too. Yeah, you're in, kind of thing, you're hired. Do we need to put a stop to boot camps? And how do we do that?
People are going to find this response interesting. Boot camps, the people who started boot camps had a wonderful idea. How can we, because we have all of these open UX roles, when all of this started in 2011, same time as the siege, we have all of these open positions. It's an up and coming field. Everybody can't afford to go to college. Everybody doesn't want to go to college. Let's come up with a program where we can help somebody understand the base elements, the base qualifications that they need to be able to launch a career in this field. Wonderful idea. Excellent idea. When I got my first UX job, I didn't have a degree. I didn't have an undergrad degree. I had an associate degree. I didn't have an undergrad degree, and nobody cared about my associate's degree at the time. So I understand the plights, things of that nature. However, it was a great idea that was not executed properly. It was not executed properly. Education is an institution, no matter what type of education it is. And the first mistake that the bootcamp creators did, number one, they already had programming boot camps. Well, programming is a finite science. UX is an infinite science. So trying to come up with a boot camp that's structured just like the boot camp that you have for a finite science, and you're trying to create a boot camp for an infinite science, is already a losing proposition. And again, any educational venue, you're coming into an arena where something is an institution, and the only way that you can execute properly on an educational initiative is to respect the institution of education, which boot camps didn't do. Institutions of higher learning are accountable to accrediting bodies to make sure that the way that the learning experiences are put together, they meet certain qualifications so that when you give somebody a diploma, it means something. That never happened with boot camps. That never happened. They tried to get they didn't have accreditation. You can look back in the history. You can go back in the Wayback Machine and do all this stuff. Got articles everywhere. Instead of getting accreditation, they tried to go and get endorsements from people who were tops in the field at the time. So you will see old Don Norman signing off on, Career Foundry, yada, yada, yada. General Assembly, yada, yada, yada. And got people saying things. And then people say, wow, they're endorsing it. It must be okay. Boot camps never. I mean, to this day, somebody can graduate from a boot camp on a Friday and then be contracted to start teaching that same course the following week. That's insanity. That's insanity. Boot camps are full of empty promises. That's false advertising. You'll learn everything you need to know in 6 months. No, you won't. At best, you get a foundation, and they barely scratch the surface. I mean, again, information architecture, it's one of the pillars of UX. Are boot camps teaching information architecture? Very few of them are, and even when they do, they don't teach it the right way. And every user experience has information architecture at its core. But information architecture disappeared from the vast majority of the educational landscape, no matter what, not just boot camps, but higher learning. Information architecture was pretty much abandoned while the siege was taking place between 2011 and about, you didn't start seeing more information architecture show up until the last maybe 2-3 years. So you got people coming into UX and know nothing about information architecture. They know nothing about content strategy. Oh, but they all of a sudden they know a lot about UX writing. Where in the world did that come from? Because there is no such thing as I know people hate me for this, but there is no such thing as UX writing. UX writing became popular because you had a bunch of people, when the gold rush for UX started, a bunch of people started trying to get into UX by any means necessary. And it became another arena where somebody could lower the bar, and the barrier of entry could be lower. I'll do writing. There isn't enough UX writing work to keep somebody busy for, as they call it, for 40 hours a week. So how in the world did the position become established? On my podcast, I took several UX writing job posts and went through the requirements for each one of those jobs and talked about that. You see this? But you telling me this is a position? It's not. It never was. It's a restructuring of technical writing, which is a thing, copywriting, which is a thing, and try to shoehorn it into UX. It doesn't exist. Trying to come up with the right labeling for a paragraph or like a H1, that's UX. It's not UX writing, it's UX. It trying to decide what should we call this call to action? That's nomenclature. That's an information architecture thing. It's not UX writing. So we keep being satisfied with these things because people want to get into UX by any means necessary, but they're bastardizing the field in the process. And they'll embrace something that doesn't exist as long as they get a check. They don't care. People don't care about the well-being. What kind of state will this field be in 10 years? You can't get a straight answer from these people about that. Because they don't care, they don't know, they don't think about it. I know about it, I think about it. I'm fighting for it. And the stuff I'm fighting for, people say, Darren, that's how you feel about it, because how you're going to benefit. I'm not even going to benefit from what I'm fighting about. By the time all this stuff gets straightened out, if it gets straightened out, I won't even be in the discipline anymore. I will have retired. So this is not about me. But the fear mongers, they love lying because and some people are so prone to fear that somebody can say anything to them and then they'll become fearful about it. So, it's gatekeeping. Now they're feared and they're running away.
Just on the...
He thinks I'm a poser. Then just don't be a poser. What's the big deal?
Just on the boot camping piece, I hear what you're saying. And I know what you mean. Like the intentions are good to start off with, right? And
Sure.
I'm just trying to think though, in 2025, to someone trying to get into the field, what do you think are the best methods nowadays for someone that, is interested in getting into experiences, just maybe completed their university course on, human HCI, whatever it is. What do you think are the next steps? Or what do you think someone should do?
If they're trying to get into the discipline?
That's right. Like just getting into the discipline. Like, what do you think is the best entry point? If someone wakes up tomorrow and says, I want to be in the UX field. What's the best entry?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Because, and I'm going to start from the educational standpoint. I think that university certificate programs offer more than boot camps do because they're accredited and they will give you some semblance of actual structure. Asterisk. A lot of institutions of higher learning are doing UX wrong too. There's an academia UX maturity level that they're supposed to have, and they don't have it, the vast majority of them. So you have in the United States, I can't remember the number offhand, but if my memory serves me correctly, less than 2% of all institutions of higher learning have some type of UX program somewhere. That's a really low number. Of those that do, they don't structure them properly. So yes, a university program is a better way to go. You don't have to get a degree. Sometimes you can just go take 3, 4, 5 classes and you'll get something that the boot camps claim to be offering you. But because it's accredited, you're going to have more accountability and you're going to have a better learning experience. And you've got more people teaching it that are qualified to teach it, and not just somebody who's jerry-rigged into a position to do something. So that's a better thing to do, a better route to go. Unfortunately, the pathway into UX is not very solid. Like I said earlier, practically everybody, if not everybody who was doing UX initially fell into it. We fell into our roles, with the exception of the fact that there's a lot of job postings for UX out there. And the vast majority of UX, I'm trying to really grit my teeth sort of to say this because this is tough to say, but it's true. Most of the companies posting UX jobs don't really want a UX person. It's a charade. A lot of people are really going to be mad at me for that, but it's a charade. You really have to check and see if somebody really wants whatever you did to become qualified, to put you in a position to apply, you may end up working for a company that really doesn't want you. But some bigwig somewhere in the company said, we need to get UX people. So somebody did it. And now you become a pawn in a game of employment chess, and you have no idea. Hate to tell y'all, but I'm going to always tell you the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Everything you're saying makes me feel terrible. Imagine where you'd be if you didn't hear what I said. Because there's a lot of people who are opting for the Pollyanna messaging, and then those same people will come back to me later and asking for my help. But you didn't want to listen to me 2-3 years ago. When I said that UX was under siege, everybody was telling me to shut up. And look at where we are now. When I started talking about posers, retrofits, and upstarts, people told me to shut up. Look at where we are now. I say a lot of things and people don't want to hear it, only for everyone to find out that what I said was dead on point. So if the bridge is out, navigate accordingly. If you're in the car and your gas gauge says that you're almost on E, do something about it. Don't get frustrated. We made this on E. I don't like that. Yeah, but if you don't get some gas, you're going to get stranded somewhere. So I'm sharing things to help people to navigate some very troubling waters. Because one of the other answers I had sort of holding off on saying was, what do you do if you want to get into UX? Try to learn what's really ahead. Too many people are getting in UX today with rose-colored glasses on. They heard that it's easy. UX isn't easy. Anybody can do it. Go back to where you heard somebody say that and ask them what they meant. Can anybody do it? Yes. If you put the right work into it, if you learn what the expectations are, set proper expectations, if you are willing to labor to become qualified to do the work, you can do it. That's what anybody can do it means. This is not burger flipping. And when people say that anybody can do it, that's the message they're conveying. Yeah, it doesn't take anything to do this. Yeah, it does. And the vast majority of what you do as a UX professional has nothing to do with the work. It has to do with how you build relationships, how you manage relationships, how you sell what you're doing, the customer support that you offer as a UX person, how you negotiate, how you advocate. Got nothing to do with Figma. So, and people are always, as we said earlier, people are always trying to take your work from you. Half the time, people don't want to hear what you have to say. It doesn't matter how good your research is. They're still going to do what they want to do. I like orange. What? you know how many UX people I know that they just have to have meetings with their company team just for everybody to get back together to level set again, because everybody wants to pull their hair out because of how they get treated all the time. So you got to come back together and everybody encourage one another, reinforce one another, get a few laughs. All right, let's go get them again. And you manage your sanity until the next time you come together to talk to the UX people again, because it's a work that there's a lot of insanity in our circles. You have to be willing to and become good at managing insanity to do this work. So what's pretty about it? It's not. Like I said earlier, you got to love it. I love it. That's why I keep doing it. People are crazy. Yeah, but people are crazy everywhere. You see somebody run a red light everywhere. You see somebody cut you off in traffic, and then you look at them and they're yelling at you and they cut you off. That same insanity, and we all experience that. That same insanity is in the UX world. You're not going to get away from it when you go to do your UX work. People will ignore, no matter how good your research is, they will ignore you. No matter how much sense you make, they will find a reason to not do it. No matter how well you put together your analysis and your synthesis, people are going to opt for what the hippo, the highest paid person opinion is in the room, and just blow you off. And you have to keep your head on up. Let that roll off your sleeve and go and take on the next challenge with the same fervor, the same integrity, and the same commitment. And everybody is not willing to do that. And until you have that type of fortitude, you're not ready for this.
Yeah.
See, again, fortitude, not figmatude, fortitude.
This is almost therapeutic, Darren, hearing this, right? Because everything you're saying, I've experienced, right? I feel I can feel what you're saying. You know, I actually feel it. You know, I know exactly what you're saying. And you know, Darren, I think we've spoken a bit about a lot of different topics, but I'd like to just quickly touch on the future, right? Where do we see things going, right? Because all the things you mentioned just now, it feels like with the impact of AI, with the lack of awareness that we have had in the past, you know, where do we see that role going? You know, with all the things that Shopify are talking about, you know, all these kind of things going on. Where do you, I know you're not like a fortune teller, Darren, right? But just in your opinion, where do you feel the world of UX is going to be in the future? What direction do you think we're going?
And let's not forget about liquid glass as well. Where's that taking us?
Yeah. Let's not forget that.
Oh my God. I saw those conversations about the liquid glass thing. I just started laughing. I'm going to go over here. I'll come back to that later. I haven't even dug into it yet. And that's what I will say that's what I call design arrogance. Companies that have a big name, it's like the FANG thing. Those companies can say or do anything they want. People are still going to put their money on those products. People are still going to listen to what they have to say. And again, it's the highest paid person's opinion. Sometimes the hippo is a company. And people will opt in. I mean, it wasn't like, we're thinking about doing this. No, Apple said, we're gonna do this. And you know what? You know, this is the same company that rolled out, what was it? Like, was it a $2,000 monitor stand? And people were buying it? Are you nuts? No. You know, and we haven't heard anything else about it. I don't know if they're still doing it, but people still bought those things. And they rolled out Apple Vision, even though there's nothing that said about a lot of people that was going to be something that was going to be supported by the market to a great extent. So, you know, when there's design arrogance, people are going to do whatever they're going to do. But all that goofy stuff aside, which we talk about that again in a year and see where it went. Where do we go from an AI perspective? We should try to learn what we can about AI and govern. Don't allow yourself to become dependent on it. Error rates with AI have been said to be as high as, I believe, like 88%, something like that. Do you really want to bank your future on something that can have an error rate as high as 88%? I'm not. I still have yet to find a place where I can use AI consistently in my daily work as a UX professional. It doesn't offer me anything. However, I am taking courses and I want to learn about AI. Most notably, I want to learn how to use AI to create things that will help. And I think that's where that's going to be a big thing for UX people. Come up with a way for AI, because AI is not going anywhere. Number one, it's not new. So everybody who's jumping, AI is new. No, it's not. Stop that. AI didn't just pop up in the last 6 months. It's proposed usage accelerated recently. AI was already in place. I've been using AI in Photoshop for years. Now, for a few years, I've been using AI in photography. I'm a photographer. I've been using it in photography for a few years with apps that some people don't even know exist. So it's not new. And I'm just throwing a couple of examples out there, but AI is not new. It's just the way that they're doing it, the way they're presenting it is new, and the hype is new. And the hype is happening because folks know that folks like Kool-Aid. And so people can hype anything. They can say anything, and folks are going to jump on bandwagon because they're just lazy and they do whatever. And that's why it is where it is. But we need to engage from a very responsible perspective, and we need to vet things out. Always vet something out and try to come up, what can we do? If we're using AI to build a model that can help us with what we do, let's try to come up with some models. Let's keep experimenting. Let's innovate, and let's go ahead and do it that way and find out where it can be, provide an advantage to what we do. That's the responsible and the reasonable thing to do when it comes to AI. Beyond that, for those that are willing, we need to keep laboring to understand that we are stewards. All of us are stewards of this discipline. We need to embrace the fact that we're stewards. We need to understand what it means to be a steward, to fulfill that responsibility. We need to strive to represent UX honorably and ethically. Those who got into UX without learning, boot camps do not stress fundamentals at all. I like what somebody said once, boot camps are nothing more than portfolio farms. That's all they produce, is somebody that puts together a portfolio. And portfolio is an overused, overvalued currency that is actually also chock full of discriminatory components. I have worked on hundreds of projects in my career. Do you think anybody wants to see anything that I did 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago or beyond that? Because right now, the stuff in my portfolio was done the last few years. On top of the fact that you have NDAs that keep you from sharing certain things. Another grossly overlooked factor about portfolios is when you are really very good at what you do, guess what the last thing you're thinking about is? What to put in your portfolio. And you're counted on to move from one thing to the next. So we move so fast, we're not even thinking about, I need to put that in my portfolio. Nobody's thinking about that. The only people that are thinking about putting stuff in their portfolio and then fall for that terrible Kool-Aid oriented rhetoric, show me your best work. The only people whose best work are in their portfolio are the people who haven't done anything. If you've been doing this for any length of time, your best work is not in your portfolio. You weren't thinking about it at the time, you didn't have access to it, or you left and thought about it later. Man, I wish I had put Project X in here. Now you can't go back and get it. So it's too late. So the best work isn't there. It simply isn't there. When somebody says, show me your best work, that lets you know that they're idiots, frankly. They're idiots. Because it's not doable. Show me how you approach the work. Let's tone that down. Show me how you approach the work. Personally, when I am a hiring manager, I only look at portfolios. If you can't talk about the work, then you can't do the work. And I found that people that are portfolio junkies usually can't talk about the work. So it's over. It's over. But we need to ground ourselves in those fundamentals that have escaped us. Go back and tap into old books. Learn the history of the discipline. Ground yourself in the history of the discipline. Respect the history of the discipline. Respect the people that have gone before you in the discipline. That's I did a talk recently called UX and the Good Doctor, where I took the Hippocratic Oath and extracted from it and applied it to UX to show a model for ethics that we could use. And one of the things that people who go into medicine have to do is they're responsible for respecting all the people that went before them in the discipline, all the previous accomplishments. So you coming into UX today, you need to understand what Susan Weinschenk is talking about. You need to understand what Don Norman is talking about. You need to understand what Richard Saul Werman, Nathan Shetroff, Kelly Goto, these people who laid all the foundations of the discipline, Jesse James Garrett, Alan Cooper, Christina Waukee, people who laid the foundations for the discipline, that their work allowed you to be where you are. How dare you not respect them? That should be an automatic losing proposition for anybody. We are occupying space. We're occupying the day because of what those people did. They gave this discipline a face. And failure to respect that, in my mind, that's grounds for dismissal. The person, they don't have a right to occupy space over here. If you want to thrive, understand what these people did and build on it and keep taking the discipline forward. And old UX content is just as valuable as it was when it was originally written. So you can pick up a book that was written in 2002 and still vault you forward.
Right. We hope you got a lot out of that set on today. A lot of great information. Hey, and by the way, for those of you who are interested in hearing me address specific topics associated with user experience, feel free to reach out. Feel free to send me a message. Most people connect with me on LinkedIn. Go ahead, connect with me out there. If you want, just post them in the comments to this video. We are more than happy to address topics that are near and dear to your heart today, trying to help everybody that we can vault themselves forward in the discipline of user experience. But folks, that's all the time we have for today. We're going to go ahead and sign off here. Until next time, this is Darren Hood, the host of The World of UX, wishing everybody all the best. And until next time, happy UXing, everybody.